Coming up tonight on YCN News, Claremont, New Hampshire celebrates its 250th birthday. Kearsarge Regional High School holds a Chair of Honor ceremony. And lab tests of heroin in the Upper Valley show positive mixing of another drug. For more news, weather, and sports, it's time for YCN, your local view.
Now, your daily digest of the Dartmouth Lake Sunapee region, southern Vermont, and Windsor County. News, sports, weather, and all that is happening in our area. The news on YCN, your local view.
Good evening, and welcome to this Monday edition of YCN News. I'm Rose Spillman. Claremont turned 250 years old yesterday and celebrated in grand style. YCN's Lisa Connell explains.
It was a day for the senses. The sounds of the Aardvark Jazz Orchestra Band filled the Claremont Opera House. The melodies of the saxophone, trumpet, and all instruments combined for smooth and pleasing sounds for the audience under the direction of Dr. Mark Harvey. The birthday concert included the singing of a song especially written for Claremont. Even the Fisk Free Library got into the celebratory mood, decked out in style. Later yesterday night, state and city leaders joined many residents gathered on the green at the Visitors Center on North Street. Mayor James Nielsen told guests and residents the city has a lot to be proud of. Sometimes residents take the city's value for granted, he said. New Hampshire Cultural Commissioner Van McLeod said Claremont is becoming known for its hidden gems, including films made with a city backdrop. City Manager Guy Santagate introduced the guest of honor, Governor Maggie Hassan. As Hassan spoke, the swelling of pride among the night's crowd was palpable. All of this was the lead up to the highlight of the night, the lighting of the sculpture. Entitled Our Hands Then and Now, artist Ernest Montenegro's 53-foot-tall sculpture marks the city's past, present, and future. The statue is 53 feet tall because in yards, that equals 17.64, the year of Claremont's founding. The statue includes hand tracings of residents, a tribute to today's community while honoring the past work decades ago of the men and women who turned Claremont from a farming to an industrial to a modern-day city with computer resources. At 7:40 p.m., with a 10-9-8 countdown, the lights were turned on, the sculpture glowed, flags at its top blowing in the night sky.
Yesterday's events capped more than a year in planning to celebrate Claremont's 250th birthday. Everything went off without a hitch. It was a great crowd last night for the lighting and then a surprise show of multicolored fireworks. Congratulations, Claremont. For YCN News, I'm Lisa Connell.
As you drive by the Visitor Center on North Street, you may want to take a look at the top of the sculpture for that red-tailed hawk. Thank you, Lisa. Also in Claremont news, a heads up regarding travel tomorrow on downtown Pleasant Street. Work on the sewer system will require closure of Lower Pleasant Street up through School and Glidden Streets from 5 a.m. to 3 p.m. The notice was made public today. This area includes the end of Pleasant Street near Restaurant New Socials and the Brown Block, continuing up to Rite Aid and Citizens Bank. All sidewalks in the area will remain open. The city's Department of Public Works is overseeing this project. Kearsarge Regional High School held a Chair of Honor ceremony Friday. Veterans from the Kearsarge and Lebanon communities gathered along with Kearsarge Regional High School District students, administrators, teachers, and staff on October 24th to remember prisoners of war and those missing in action. The ceremony included a presentation of colors by the American Legion, a choral performance, and guest speaker Dennis Desilets of the Rolling Thunder New Hampshire Chapter 2. The POW/MIA Chair of Honor program is a nationwide effort to remember soldiers who are not here. The event was organized by KRHS Social Studies and History teacher Curtis Roddy. Thank you to YCN's Laura James for bringing us this story. In Upper Valley news, laboratory tests of heroin samples that police believe are responsible for many overdoses show positively the mixing in of another drug. Hartford Police Department police report the heroin sample was mixed with fentanyl, a powerful narcotic. Fentanyl is 80 to 100 times stronger than the painkiller morphine and even more potent than heroin. Hartford, Vermont Deputy Police Chief Braden Vale says the mixture of fentanyl and heroin makes for an extremely dangerous combination and can ultimately lead to overdose and death. This next story also involves heroin and highlights the effect it takes on its users and first responders. New Hampshire State Police yesterday evening around 5:30 p.m. responded to a single vehicle car crash on I-93 South in Derry. When police arrived at the scene, one of the occupants of the 2010 Chevy Cobalt was unconscious, having just injected himself with heroin, state officials report. As 23-year-old driver Jillian Nobear of Goffstown drove the car, passenger Ethan Marquis of Auburn injected the heroin and overdosed, say police. The crew of the Derry Fire and Emergency Medical Services were able to revive Marquis with Narcan. Marquis, also 23 years old, was taken by ambulance to Parkland Medical Center in Derry. Police later arrested Marquis at the center and charged him with possession of narcotics. Nobear was found to be in possession of multiple bags of heroin within the car, report police. She was arrested and charged with possession of narcotics and transporting drugs. Nobear and Marquis are due to appear at 8 a.m. December 12th in Derry District Court. When YCN News returns, New Hampshire's Department of Transportation Commissioner Chris Clement prepares to take a new administrative position.
The YCN News continues in a moment.
Welcome back to YCN News. I'm Rose Spillman. A man and a woman from Hartford, Vermont are facing animal cruelty charges, Hartford police report. An investigation into the reported charge began September 19th at 156 Fern Street in Wilder. Hartford police worked with members of the Upper Valley Humane Society to determine if animal neglect or cruelty had been committed. Evidence found reached the threshold to get a search warrant from a judge. After police searched the Wilder home, 3 dogs were removed from the residence. The dogs received medical treatment. 34-year-old Tommy Warren and 54-year-old Lori Vitale are charged by police with cruelty to animals. Further investigation into this case is being completed, and more charges could follow. A Burlington, Vermont man is charged by New Hampshire State Police for driving 40 to 50 miles per hour over the speed limit because he was late for work. Police clocked by state police aircraft Sunday morning around 9:20 a.m., driving upwards of 100 miles per hour on I-89 North in Sutton. Troopers at street level were notified of the speeding car, weaving in and out of both lanes of traffic, including the breakdown lane. When a trooper was able to stop the car driven by 34-year-old Francis Omond IV, Omond collapsed. He was taken to New London Hospital. He recovered and police charged him with reckless driving. Omond is scheduled to answer to the charge next year in January in Newport District Court. In other New Hampshire news, there will be a change at the top of the State Department of Transportation. DOT Commissioner Chris Clement is taking a new administrative position with the state university system. Clement will be the Vice President of Finance and Administration for the University System of New Hampshire. Governor Maggie Hassan thanked Clement for his 3-year service as commissioner. Clement oversaw road improvements and plans for future betterments. Commissioner Clement will continue to serve into December. Under state statute, Assistant Commissioner David Brillhart will serve as acting commissioner after December until a new permanent commissioner is confirmed by the Executive Council. When YCN News returns, we'll hear from Kearsarge Chronicles' Elizabeth D'Orazio, who met with Joan Wallen of Coldwell Banker Milestone to discuss rentals.
The YCN News continues in a moment.
Welcome back to YCN News. I'm Rose Spillman. Now Matt McDonald will have a look at our weather for the next few days and then move on to sports.
Thanks, Rose. Tonight we'll have increasing clouds with lows in the 30s and calm winds. Tomorrow we'll have a high of 62 degrees with mostly sunny skies and winds around 5 miles per hour. Tomorrow night we'll have a 50% chance of showers after 11 p.m. Skies will be increasingly cloudy with lows in the 50s. Wednesday we'll have a 40% chance of rain before noon with mostly cloudy skies. Winds will range between 5 and 10 miles per hour and highs will stay in the 60s. Wednesday night will be mostly cloudy with a low of 40 degrees. And now let's take a look at our fall foliage report. We will continue to bring you foliage updates in New Hampshire and Vermont counties. Let's see what's coming up on our community calendar. Tomorrow night, the Enfield Community Building will host Zumba classes from 6 to 7 p.m. In Vermont, the Windsor Select Board will meet at 7 p.m. Remember, you can submit local events from your community by sending them to news@ycnnow.com. Last Friday was senior night at Kearsarge Regional High School in North Sutton, New Hampshire, as 8 seniors played their final home game for the Cougars. Their opponent was I-89 rival Lebanon. It was an important game because the loser of this game would be eliminated from the playoffs. The muddy conditions affected many phases of the game. Here, the Lebanon punt snap sails into the end zone for a safety to give Kearsarge the early 2-0 lead. Quarterback Ryan Stanley does a nice job faking the handoff and keeps the ball and just barely gets the ball into the end zone to give Kearsarge an 8-0 lead. Junior running back Riley Antill scores from 2 yards out to give the Cougars a 14-0 lead. Justin Norris had a big game for Kearsarge. Here, with the help of some outstanding blocking, he rumbles 26 yards to put the Cougars up 21-0. The fired-up sophomore ended the day with over 160 yards of total offense. With under a minute left in the third quarter, Lebanon finally gets on the board with a 61-yard pass play from Joe Flanagan to Jeremiah Morton to cut the lead to 23-6. Kearsarge answered back a short time later with his double handoff to Justin Norris, who breaks throughout the Raider defense and goes 66 yards for the touchdown. Kearsarge extended their lead to 29-6 and got their Cougar faithful fans all pumped up. With the 41-6 victory, Kearsarge now will play at Laconia on Friday night, with the winner most likely advancing to the playoffs. Lebanon will play at Conval also on Friday. In other sports news, the Newport football team made a staggering victory Saturday night against Franklin. The final score was 31-0.
Thanks, Matt. When YCN News continues, we'll join Capital Connections' John O'Connor.
The YCN News continues in a moment.